CFL. Let them know.
Welcome to Saturdays in Canada with Hawk Wes here on the Sports Betting Channel. Hawk Wes, you know I love that intro. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I love that intro. I love the Canadian national anthem, but I love better 74.3% winners.
I'm feeling very 26-9.
Very 26-9. Now, I got some numbers to go with that 26-9. I've made it clear in my career, talking about sports betting in front of a microphone, that I don't give a flying crap what you do. You got to do what you do because it's your money. However, let's talk about money, because this is your money. So you watch the show, you watch the whole show, and it's about 35 minutes. It would be 30 minutes if we had a guy in our ear telling us to take breaks, but I tend to ramble, and you give us a lot of information. So between your information and my ramble, and we go over a little bit. But if you just watch every single week, and you're betting $20 on a play, so 22 to win 20, you're getting paid $58.90 an hour to watch Saturdays in Canada with Hawk Wes here on the Sports Betting Channel. Now, if you figured out that Championship Football is our sponsor, is simply the coolest present they'll open that day, guarantee. And I've said you once, so you understand that's a true statement. So you don't have to watch the commercials. Now you get it down to 20 minutes. So you're investing 20 minutes a week, every week for 9 weeks, and you have made $107 an hour, $107.33, $107.33 an hour. And we talked about that's a lot of money. Here's where it gets exciting. Now, I know your unit size is a little bigger than $22, but let's just talk about the average Joe and say that we got a guy out there, his average unit is $50. So he lays 55 to win 50, Wes. Do you know what he has made an hour if he watches every minute of every second of this show? He has made $147.26 an hour. Now, we talked about when that was a good number last week, because he got a raise. We went 3-1 again, so he got a raise. The guys that are betting $55 to win 50 that don't hang around for the commercials, that just kind of fast forward through the commercials. Now, depending on where you're watching a video, sometimes you can't fast forward. But if you go to sportsbettingweeklylive.com, where we always post it after we premiere on Belly Up Sports and the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, then you can literally watch the show in 20 minutes. Those guys are making, are you ready? I don't have a drum roll. I would play the drum roll right now because this has got drum roll written all over it. $268.33 an hour. You're a chef, an executive chef. Do you make $268 an hour?
I absolutely do not.
Do you know what that works out to an annual income? $526,000 a year. You really don't want to watch Saturdays in Canada. You don't want to bet on our place because the bottom line is then you're going to be in a really big tax bracket, and we don't want that for you.
I don't know that there's very many college educations that get you that income straight out of school. I don't even know that that's your starting salary as a lawyer or doctor.
No, you know how it is with lawyers and doctors. Their back end is where they make money because that's a grind to get into that career. 16 hours a day of being on call at a children's hospital has got to be a tough way to start your career.
You and I have been doing this a long time, and we have contacts with a lot of people that are investing in sports matchups, and most professionals will tell you, John from GMF will tell you, if he's 57%, he's having he's making money. And anybody that you meet in a bar that tells you, yeah, I'm picking 65% winners, we would laugh at the guy and walk away and probably.
A guy says to me, I'm doing 74.3% documented. I'm going to laugh.
Yeah, I am too. And lucky for us, all you have to do out there, if you don't believe it, is go back to week 1 of Canadian football. And I'm going to knock on wood because we're reading the form quite well, but it is documented here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network at 74%.
Yeah. All right, so let's look how we did that. First of all, think how much better our winning percentage would be if we could figure out the Blue Bombers.
I'm telling you. I think that what we just saw on the field this past week, we referenced it early in the season, but we challenged them because we didn't like a couple things. But I think what we just saw, Schoen and Kenny Lawler and that air attack, I believe that this is now the Bomber team that we're going to see for the rest of the season. The only question is truly motivation, some outside factors, injury, but this is the Bomber team. I mean, Kenny Lawler is just unbelievable. I know I talk about him every week, but I mean,
you could see it on the field, but 50 points. They put up 50 points on a BC team that had been impressive up to that point, 6-1.
They had only allowed 94 on the season going into the game, and they hung 50. I mean, they just broke their spirit. And that was a big game for standings because now they're 1-1. They play in the same division, and they're going to play against each other again. And that's probably going to be for the bye in the division, and that will matter. Indoors in a dome in BC versus outdoors in the cold at Winnipeg, where Winnipeg is strong, that game will matter.
Yeah, we talked about it last week. What will happen when they beat them the first time, 30-9, I think it was. Will Winnipeg remember that? Well, the answer was a resounding yes, they did remember. And then Friday, it's the opposite. Thank God we've got Calgary figured out.
We got Calgary figured out. We have not lost a game that we have bet on or against Calgary. I mean, we have them figured out. I had said, we were catching them in the right position. And, we got them. We got Calgary figured out.
And then Saturday, boy, that was weird. I left the Montreal-Hamilton game for a split second. We were losing. I came back. We were dominating. And then 18-point fourth quarter will do that.
Montreal is their offense has not been great, although Austin Mack has been fun to watch. What a great story. And for me as a Buckeye fan, he's become one of the top receivers in the league. But Montreal got a couple picks. Their defense showed up late. We were almost gonna not cover. We were gonna win and not cover in that game, but Montreal's defense showed up late. They've been getting picks. They're one of the top three as far as picks goes. And when you get to this point and you've separated yourself that far as interceptions, it's not an accident anymore.
And then finally, Saskatchewan did their best Edmonton imitation, didn't they? They tried so hard to elk, but it just wasn't meant to be.
They did, but Sask is moving the ball really well. Right now, they're probably moving the ball just as good as anybody. I mean, a top flight team as far as how they move the ball down the field. It's just not always translating into points. They have some young receivers that are working out. Emulis made some really great catches. Bain is one of the top receivers. And when they get Morrow going, they're fun to watch. So I do like Sask. Going forward, they're a team that we can throw into the category of trust.
But really, in the CFL, if you guys aren't CFL fans yet, again, hello, but I was showing my son how it works. They're not on the line of scrimmage. You can't get closer to a yard. So 3rd and 1 is really a high percentage play. The 3rd and 1 in the CFLs make Tom Brady's 3rd and 1 seem like a low success rate. But they had one where they didn't make it, and they had one where they gave the guy the ball and he went the other way. And that was the whole game.
They did, and Sask went for it. I mean, just to give you an idea how high percentage it is, and that is a good Sask coach. He's one of the top coaches in the league, and offensively, he's showing it. But they went for it. They went for 3rd and 1 on their own, I think, 18 or 19, and I even said that could have been the play that cost us our point spread.
No doubt about it. But we talk about the 74.3. I'm really, really busy. I don't have time to go back and do the math, but I got to think we may actually have a better win percentage when you ask me of the outright dogs, the time we've taken points this year, how many have won on the field, and it might be better than 3-1.
We've gotten one every week. I can say that with certainty.
We had 2 this week.
This past week we had 2, and the humbling one, the one that I'm the most excited about, I don't know if humbling is the right word, but the one I'm the most excited about is we picked the only undefeated team in the league to lose and took a dog outright. And, I think my reasoning last week was how many consecutive games in a row that Toronto was without a true home game, and Calgary being, in the right position, and how much they can gain on first down and put themselves in good position. And we were right.
All right, so when we get back, what we're going to do is we're going to keep it going. You're watching Saturdays in Canada with Hawk Wes here on the Sports Betting Channel, sponsored by Championship Footballs, the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. You're getting a 100% money-back guarantee on every single souvenir football from ChampionshipFootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. How hard is it to find the right gift for someone that already has everything? Whether that special present is for a Georgia Bulldogs fan or a member of the Kansas City Chiefs kingdom. Maybe your grandfather has been a Dallas Cowboy fan as long as you've been alive. Does your brother-in-law live in Penn State territory? Do you know a member of the University of Baylor Alumni Association? Is there a better birthday gift for someone who's 100% all Tulane Green Wave? Send them the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Now, if your favorite pro team is the Jacksonville Jaguars or those Minnesota Vikings, we're sorry about that. If you are a Louisiana Monroe Warhawk or an East Carolina Pirate alumni, not much they can do. After all, the name isn't "You had a pretty good season footballs.com." The name is ChampionshipFootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. With thousands of buyers across the country, you'll always get the most amount of money for your bet on PropSwap. So hurry to PropSwap while it's early and grab a ticket or two. The odds are always the highest right now. It really does pay to get in early. Go to PropSwap.com or download the free PropSwap app today. PropSwap is where America buys and sells sports bets. Welcome back to Saturdays in Canada with Hawk Wes here on the Sports Betting Channel. We just saw the Championship Football spot and the Prop Swap spot. Now, the Prop Swap this week, I've got really nothing to say about Prop Swap. I don't have any futures, but what I do have is the ability to get tickets with futures because the state of Louisiana has legalized sports betting. And we are going to the Crescent City, right? Crescent City? The Big Easy? It's got a lot of names.
It does.
And it's such a fun town. Now, you're a chef, so you understand the concept of good food when you go to New Orleans. Hell, you just did alligator, didn't you?
We're getting ready to.
Yeah.
I'm working on an alligator special because, as you know, I'm paying some taxes, some friendly taxes on the Florida Gators and different variants of that game against Utah, and so I'm gonna run a Gator Bite special.
I love it.
Why not?
Sports so we were in Houston for the trade show a few years back, pre-pandemic. And we broke down on the way to New Orleans, and we ended up in Lafayette, Louisiana for 4 days. And we had a great time in Lafayette. The drinks are $2.50, food is cheap, the biscuits are the bomb. But it wasn't New Orleans. And so to be able to go back and be in the stadium with our Tulane football as an official partner of the Tulane Green Wave is a fairly exciting moment. I got 23 days of grinding, and then I'm going to have my first 6-day vacation since my anniversary when I went to see Elvis. So I'm very excited about that. So let's keep winning money because I have a wife who has a high threshold of alcohol consumption, and we've done New Orleans before, so I know. Don't get me wrong. If you like hurricanes, it's not that bad because you don't need to drink a lot of them,
No. See, what gets me is the frozen 151.
Yeah. And again, it's not really a cheap town, New Orleans.
No,
but it's so special you don't mind the pain. So What we're going to do is we're going to sublet our New Orleans bill with our CFL winnings, and we're going to look at the first game, Winnipeg at Edmonton. This is Thursday night, 9 o'clock Eastern, 45 plus 12.
So the last time Edmonton took the field, they were shut out 27-0 by a team that Winnipeg just beat 50-14. So there's not a lot we need to talk about here. Edmonton's going to lose. The only question is by how many. They're going against a team that just started to flex their muscles. Schoen and Lawler and Caleres, and we can just keep naming them. I mean, Winnipeg goes way deep. This is an appetizer for them. Lay the points.
Edmonton at home. Now they show on the game they try to not rub this into Edmonton, but we're only talking about this year and last year since 2022. Edmonton at home against the spread 0, 12, and 1. That's just a tough number. All right, then Saturday, Saskatchewan at Montreal. It's 7:30 Eastern. The line's 44.5 and 4.5.
I'm taking the points here. I really like Sask. Montreal is not scoring a ton of points. They put up 27 against Hamilton, but I say big deal. That's not really that's not really an accomplishment. Hamilton is a mess. We caught Hamilton in a W, a couple weeks ago, but Sask is moving the ball really well down the field. A couple weeks ago, they hung 400 yards and they completely outplayed Toronto. So they are knocking on the door. They have young receivers that are doing the right things. They have a top running back in the league. QB2, Fine, is playing. He's playing fine. He's mobile. I like the way he's throwing the ball. Now, Montreal, their defense is better. There's no question there. And they can pick the ball off. The only question is, where do they intercept the ball and how does it affect the game? That's the only thing. But I like taking the points, even though Montreal's at home. 4.5. That's a lot. Even a field goal and a single, we're still alive with the hook.
Their last 9 games at home, Montreal, going back to September 9th of last year, 1-8. The over is 1, the under's 8, and that's part of the defensive story. So there's something not right with the Montreal offense. Cody Fajardo and just whatever the play calling or what's going on in the quarterback or the offensive planning room, it's just not right. This isn't the same Cody that we saw in Sask. But what we're seeing with Sask is the coaching has really elevated QB2 in this scenario. So maybe that's why they had no problem letting Cody go. But I mean, this is a former MOP quarterback that just took the league by storm, and he's really struggling. The coaching is not utilized. Oh, it was ugly the first half, right? It was ugly. Even though they got the W, it was ugly. There's no doubt about it. All right, so when we come back from break, we're going to get into the last 2 games of the week. But first, we're going to talk about a team that had the greatest turnaround in NCAA football history. You're watching Saturdays in Canada with Hawk Wes here on the Sports Betting Channel. Your Tulane Green Wave are Cotton Bowl champions. Here's the coolest present any Tulane football fan will open that day, guaranteed. These full-size NCAA licensed full-color souvenir footballs celebrate the historic season that included the largest one-year turnaround in history and a victory in the first Green Wave New Year's Six Bowl since 1940. The top panel of these limited edition footballs has all the Cotton Bowl game victory information. The second side has the score from every regular season game of the 12-2 season, along with their first ever AAC title. These footballs make an incredible gift for your favorite Tulane Green Wave fan, even if it's you. ChampionshipFootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Your Kansas City Chiefs are Super Bowl champions. Here's the coolest present any Chiefs fan will open that day, guaranteed. These full-size, NFL licensed, full-color souvenir footballs celebrate all 3 of Kansas City's Super Bowl titles. The top panel of these limited edition footballs has logos and scores from the first 2 championships with all the game information from the Super Bowl 57 win. The second side has the score from every regular season and playoff game. These footballs make an incredible gift for your favorite Kansas City Chiefs fan, even if it's you. ChampionshipFootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Welcome back to Saturdays in Canada with Hawk Wes here on the Sports Betting Channel. Now, Wes, we're at a point in the season where I mentioned we're going into week 10. So when I've got my Easy Sports data, I'm looking at this year by itself. Then I've got the last 2 years, both home and away, and the last 2 years matchup, which is just home or away. And one of the things I notice is of these 9 teams, there's a handful of them that do the same thing every single week for years now.
Yeah, there is. Sask, I think we're seeing a little bit of a reverse. I know we've talked about them a lot. Montreal, they kind of do the same thing. They win here and there. But this is about Bomber time where they just go on their run. BC last year, this is about the time that they started to lose games, and then they lost their quarterback. And they've lost their quarterback, and now they've lost a game. So Toronto, usually the second half of the season gets a little win one, lose one. So, in Ottawa and Calgary, they're just, who knows? You just have to pick the situation. Some of these games are coin flips, but yeah, it's getting predictable. And Edmonton, they're just going to elk. And it's really sad with Edmonton because what they are historically to the CFL in terms of amount of Grey Cups won and the tradition of that stadium. I mean, they are the equivalent of if the New England Patriots started their season 0-9. I mean, it's really to that extent for some of those listeners out there that are not historic CFL fans.
No, because I was talking to a guy that's not a CFL fan, and he was talking about the old days when they were the Eskimos, and it was Warren Moon, right?
Yeah, it was. They were. I mean, they're up there in terms of number of Grey Cups won historically, and things change, and businesses have to adjust.
Well, now what we're looking at is, we're halfway basically through the regular season, give or take. But we got another 3 or 4 weeks, and then it's going to become Canada up there.
Yep, it sure is.
It's going to be cold and snowy.
Come September, it gets really cold. It's not uncommon for some of these cities to see snow. Edmonton and Calgary, we will see snow for sure. Winnipeg is one of the coldest parts of North America, just being right there in the middle. And so we're going to see it.
All right, so then we got Saturday night, 7 o'clock Eastern, Calgary at BC, 45.5 and -6.
I'm taking BC, and I think right now we're day-to-day on Vernon Adams, and you kind of got to throw that game out the window against Winnipeg. They were inept on offense without Vernon Adams, and that because they couldn't move the ball, because they struggled to score points, that affected their defense. Their defense did not have time to get rested, and
think about it. Everybody says 3 and outs are tough on a defense. Well, if 3 and outs are tough on a defense, what are 2 and outs?
When then the other part that is important to understand is a lot of the time defensive subs are on special teams. And that's 110 yards long, 65-yard wide field. So that's a lot of running around to do. So, but again, when you're not putting up points and your defense has no time to rest, and Winnipeg, just that air raid they came out with. So I think we got to give the BC Lions a pass here on that game. And if Vernon Adams starts, this point spread will change. We'll see at least a 1.5 point movement. So,
well, that was part of the logic last week in taking that points early because you thought he was going to play.
That was exactly it. And you know what? I'm willing to lay those points. Again, it's a Calgary game, and BC coming off a loss, and our record, understanding this Calgary team. Calgary just beat Toronto. It doesn't get any bigger than that this season. They took down an undefeated team 2 weeks in a row. I don't know that that's going to happen against an angry BC. And if it does, I'm okay to have this be a loss.
Well, no, they call it gambling for a reason, but there's no doubt that BC is going to be looking in a mirror, and they probably wish they could have played Monday.
They probably do.
Yeah. All right, so where are we at? Oh, you know where we at? Here's where we're at. I know exactly where we're at. We're at a point where if you're watching this show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, it goes on at 7 o'clock Eastern, but it's 4 o'clock Pacific, so it's right about 4:20.
420. I love that number.
I miss Wake and Bake, but it is what it is. You can't worry about it. You got to just move on. The success of going 3-1 pretty much every single week, because that's what 74.3 is. That and a few of those Wanna gummies are going to make it okay. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's Leaf.
And Lo, and we're here to tell you about our Wake and Bake Twitter contest. You don't even need to be a great handicapper to win.
This one is so easy, even I can win.
That's right, Leaf. Anybody can win. All you have to do is...
Can I do the disclaimer?
Leaf, the disclaimer is at the end.
Sorry.
All you have to do is take a screenshot of any game that you're watching where the clock has stopped at exactly 4:20.
420. I love that number.
We know you do, Leaf. Now please let me finish.
Sorry.
If the clock stops at 4:20 during any game you're watching, take a screenshot showing the clock and tag Chaz on Twitter with the picture.
Go to @secondhalfchaz, add the picture, and you're in.
You'll be entered in a drawing for a $100 gift certificate at championshipfootballs.com.
In a world where most cannabis gummies are hashy, melty, or just plain gross, one brand will rise up to forever change what an edible can be. Vegan and gluten-free ingredients, 30-plus terpenes, and a melt-proof recipe star in Wana. Not all edibles are created equal. Now in theaters. Dispensaries.
Welcome back to Saturdays in Canada with Hawk Wes, where we are sitting on coming off another 3-1 week. We're sitting at 74.3%. What'd you say, 26-9, right? Is that what you said?
26-9, 35 games played.
26-9. It's been nice. But more importantly, we're cashing a lot of tickets. We're winning a lot of money. And I picked up a trait of that future thing with you where you've been hopping on Florida, and I just picked Tulane because, of course, the fact that we're selling their football, and now that we're going to the stadium, it's going to be pretty cool to be in the stadium with like 45 tickets on the team that I'm rooting for.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. All right, so let's see. We just came back. We saw the clip for the contest, and you know what? It's a lot easier when you're watching games on your phone to be able to take that 420 screenshot. But the bottom line is it's worth the free football. So the next time you see a game stopped at 420, and it happens quite often because we've been doing it in my house for 10 years. We haven't been giving out contests for it, but we've been doing it in my house for a long, long time. So pay attention to it. And again, Wana, if you can get Wana's gummies, I can't get them here in San Diego. I have to get them when I go to see John in Vegas. And I had some gummies recently. They weren't Wana gummies. And you know what? I could tell. All right, last game of the week. Now, this one has been on and off the board. It is Sunday. It's 7 p.m. Eastern time. It's Ottawa at Toronto. But it was 48.5 and 10.5, and then it disappeared for a while, and then it's coming back. Is there anything I'm missing? Is there a reason why it wasn't on the board?
I don't know. And, what I'm starting to realize with the CFL is our information is limited. We're looking at the stats. We're looking at what our eyeballs told us last week and some numbers. When you look at the NFL, there's experts with their opinions. There's updates. There's, dogs that wouldn't eat this morning, so the quarterback might throw picks. Like, there's so many different ways to second guess yourself. I almost think that we're better off being here in the States and not getting the access. I'm sure if we tuned in to a CFL national, like a TSN radio station, we would be able to hear the experts hit the ball back and forth. But I really can't speak to what's going on. What I can say about this game, there's two pieces that really have me thinking. And so if you look at Ottawa this year, 7, 11, 8, and 4. Those are their margins of defeat in their losses. Now, 2 of those losses were to Hamilton. One of them was to Montreal and one was to Calgary. So they have not seen a team in Toronto's caliber, Toronto's class all season long. The other stats that I'm looking at, just comparing the two teams, these teams are 1 and 2 as far as interceptions and fumbles. These are the top 2 teams as far as turnover differential and takeaways. So I think with Toronto, it's great defense. It's putting teams in bad positions. Ottawa is not going to score a lot of points to where Toronto is going to find themselves in a bad position. But you have to acknowledge that Ottawa is taking the ball away, which is keeping them alive. It's not their offense that's keeping them alive. So that being said, Toronto returns home. I'll let you talk in a second about the history and the statistics of Toronto at home. But laying 10.5, not a lot of teams that I'm going to feel comfortable laying double digits, but Toronto coming off a loss, being the top team in interceptions, pretty deep, best O-line in the league. Give me some. Lay 10.5.
Well, they scored 32 the season opener, 43, 45, 35, 31, 31, and 7. They have to be embarrassed, don't they? They have to be coming back strong.
I thought the key to that game was the amount of yards that Calgary can gain on first down and where that would put Toronto as far as just the yardage and the down and distance. So, but Ottawa is not that team. And now there's tape on Crum. And, Ottawa, Ackland's going to be back on the field, so they're going to get a weapon at wide receiver. But, unless Kelly makes some really boneheaded moves, this could be a game where he scores some points, and Alouette could take over. And I don't see Toronto giving this game to Ottawa, and that's the only way Ottawa's within 10.
Well, if you remember, he got a lot of pub early in the season because he's Jim Kelly's nephew, right? The kid's played okay. He has played okay.
Yeah, and I believe it was the first game, might have been the second game of the season, where he ran for 3 yards. They didn't pull him out to put in QB3 for that little dive forward and score. So they might have established something there, message to the team, to the league. This guy's tough. But he's creating go-tos at wide receiver. So 10.5, we got to do it. A month ago we were saying, don't even question it. Just lay the points. It's Toronto.
Yeah, I had no problem last week. Well, first of all, last week I hadn't opened my Bovada account yet, so I was letting the money kind of slide around in the one account. So that game didn't really upset me as much as it could have. But the one thing that I remember is they had just covered so many W's and W's and W's. So you can't be a fool to not think that you're going to have hiccups. But when you turn to their home record, because that game was not at home last week,
no,
it's pretty strong. And in their last 7, they're 6-1 against the spread. I like them here. And again, I'm going to do the same thing I do every week, Wes. I put in that 4-teamer. I put it in also, though, as a round robin. Here's the thing with round robins. A round robin is spread across all the parlays. And round robins are great for a lot of things. They're really, really great when you're betting second halves and you split. Because if you were just betting the team in the second half and the over for the second half and one of them wins, one of them loses, it's a loser. But if you hook that up to the next night's game, maybe the first half, and you catch it, you get all your money back, basically. So what I'm doing is when I do that round robin, I then put a separate 4-teamer in because there's nothing like seeing plus 1288 or whatever it is on the screen when you're putting in the wager for that 4-teamer. And 4-teamers change your day. There's no doubt about it.
They do. And you've always said, I think it was on your 7 deadly sins of sports betting, you have to have, you can't not bet the parlay, right? Or was it the 10 Commandments?
Reverse insurance for God forbid in life something goes right. Because you could go weeks in life where it seems like nothing goes right. But the one time you go 6-0 and you don't have a $5 6-teamer, you're going to kick yourself, man. Because that's like $200.
Yeah, and you do it for a small thing. If you had mentioned a $20 better. If you're a $20 better, you do a $2 14 parlay. That won't hurt you.
No, and again, you're getting free bets. You're getting free bets. All right, buddy. Anything else you can think of?
No, I'm looking forward to another great week. This Winnipeg. We got to figure out Winnipeg.
Yeah. But I really believe you're absolutely right. I think the Blue Bombers helped us last week figure out the Blue Bombers.
We have followed them so much in the past 2-3 seasons that we've almost become Bomber fans. And for whatever reason, I've challenged them this year, and it's making me start to dislike them. And I don't want that, because they're such a great organization in sports. They're such an example for some American teams to follow.
Well, we talked about, when, because buying on the dip is famous. You're a famous buy on the dip kind of guy in every aspect of your life. The bottom line is, when was that going to be the Winnipeg game? Well, it turns out it was last week. Before this game, it was when the dip was there. So,
yeah.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you next time. Always be cashing.
Always be cashing.